Hello and welcome to Spectrum News within the week. I am Rachel David White, coming to you live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom State. Let's take a look at the headlines. President Tinubu promises support for security agencies, welfare of personnel. Former President Obasanjo laments pervasive corruption in Nigerian politics. Plus, Canada issues more than 16,000 permanent residency invitations in July. Details of these stories and many more coming up shortly. First, in the news within a week is Nigeria's leader, President Bola Tinubu, who has said that his government will make adequate provisions to enhance the operational capability of security and law enforcement agencies, as well as the welfare of personnel. This, he said, is in the reward drive to address security and related concerns across the country. The president made the remark during the passing out parade of the 5th regular course of the Nigeria Police Academy, Odio, in Kano State, represented by Vice President Kashim Shettima. The Nigerian leader reiterated his administration's resolve to implement a comprehensive approach to combat the security challenges in the country. Meanwhile, the chairman of the Economic Community of West African State, President Bola Tinubu, during the week said the regional bloc was committed to protecting democracy and human rights in Niger Republic. According to the Nigerian president, the regional bloc must engage the coup leaders in the neighboring countries to reinstate President Mohamed Bazoum. Tinubu spoke in Abuja when he declared open the ECOWAS second extraordinary session on the situation in Niger Republic. Tinubu said the coup in neighboring Niger has far-reaching effect on democratically constituted government in the sub-region.
It is essential to evaluate the effectiveness of our interventions and identify any gaps or challenges that may have hindered progress. Only through this comprehensive assessment can we collectively chart a new sustainable path towards lasting peace, stability, and prosperity in Niger. More so, in reaffirming our relentless commitment to democracy, human rights, and the well-being of the people of Niger, it is crucial that we prioritize diplomatic negotiations and dialogue as the bedrock of our approach. We did. It is essential to evaluate the effectiveness of our interventions and identify any gaps or challenges that may have hindered progress. Only through this comprehensive assessment can we collectively chart a new sustainable path towards lasting peace, stability, and prosperity in Niger. More so, in reaffirming our relentless commitment to democracy, human rights, and the well-being of the people of Niger, it is crucial that we prioritize diplomatic negotiations and dialogue as the bedrock of our approach.
In the meantime, the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, in the course of the week ordered its standby force to restore constitutional order in Niger Republic. The president of ECOWAS, Umar Aleo Toure, made the declaration while reading the resolution of ECOWAS on the Niger coup at the ECOWAS extraordinary meeting in Abuja. The resolution partly reads, directs the Committee of the Chief of Defense Staff to activate the ECOWAS standby force with all its elements immediately. Away from that, former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo has expressed worry over the pervasive corruption in Nigeria's electoral system. He, however, called for an urgent need for Christians to engage in politics to drive positive change. The former president met the call while delivering a speech at the annual convention and anniversary service in Ogun State. Speaking on the theme, the roles of the church and nation building at a time like this, Obasanjo urged Christians to stand out as beacons of righteousness in the realm of politics. He highlighted the challenges faced by the nation to include insecurity, hopelessness, poverty, and oppression, calling on the church to rise as a force for good, invoking its role as a salt of the world to bring out meaningful change. From the Red Chambers, the Senate and ad hoc committee investigating the non-completion of the East-West Road, led by Senator Abdul Lingi, within a week visited Delta State to inspect the road, raising concerns over expenditure on the project among other issues. The East-West Road, which connects the south, southeast, and western parts of the country, has remained in a bad state and uncompleted despite several attempts to complete the road. Worried about the trend, the Senate had constituted an ad hoc committee to investigate the non-completion of the road and find a possible solution to the lingering issue. Conducting a fact-finding inspection at the Delta end of the East-West Road, the delegation promised to work on its findings to ensure the issues on the road are fixed once and for all. They promised to investigate the monies appropriated and ensure that they are accounted for. The East-West Road is one of the strategic and critical road infrastructures which cuts across the south-south geopolitical zone of the country, occupying the central nerve. However, the road has not received the attention it requires over time, occasioned by different factions, delaying its completion, despite the huge resources that have been allocated to the project over the years. From the Green Chambers, where the House of Representatives during the week invited the Permanent Secretary of the Federal Ministry of Education, Andrew Adejo, to appear before its subcommittee on student loan and higher education to give feedback on steps put in place by the ministry and the Presidential Committee on Student Loans in the implementation of the Loan Act. This is also as the chairman of the committee, Thess Uwa expressed displeasure over the absence of the permanent secretary despite invitations sent 3 weeks ago, but instead chose to send the director of legal services in the ministry to represent him, who, when asked certain questions, declined to have an answer to them. He stated that the outcome of the meeting would equip the committee with adequate knowledge to further carry out a summit on the act. According to him, the summit will enable input from relevant stakeholders across board through the memoranda presented. An arrangement will be compiled to the composed act for the benefit of students. He required that non-appearance can bring about discord between the legislature and the executive. In the meantime, the House of Representatives ad hoc committee probing employment racketeering in agencies of the federal government also resolved to issue a warrant of arrest on Haruna Kolo, a staff of the Asset Management Company of Nigeria, AMCON, over his non-appearance for the committee invitation on several occasions. Carlo, an ex-staff of the Federal Character Commission, FCC, had appeared before the committee on Monday over allegations that he was involved in selling slot for Employment in collusion with the chairman of the commission, Muhiba Dankaka. Recall that during his appearance earlier on Monday, Kolo had admitted to collecting money for employment on behalf of the FCC chairman, Dankaka. He expressed fear for his safety, as he said the FCC chairman should be held responsible if anything happens to him. He has, however, failed to honor the invitation of the committee to appear in subsequent hearings on Tuesday and Wednesday. In a separate development, the National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, in the course of a week said the administration of President Bola Tinubu will give special attention to the safety and security of students and schools in the country. Ribadu stated this in Abuja at the Strategic Forum on Achieving Safer Schools organized by the Nigeria Police Force. The program was themed Imperative for a Safer Teaching and Learning Environment for the Future of Nigeria's National Development. The need for the national collective action aimed at strengthening synergy among security agencies towards tackling the myriads of security challenges, including alleged mass kidnapping in schools within the country. Ribadu, who was represented at the event by Major General A.M. Diko, retired, said the invasion of schools by bandits and other armed persons has impacted on school enrollment in the country, especially in the northern region. He tasked all the security agencies in the country on a need for intelligence gathering and sharing to curb the menace. On his part, the Inspector General of Police Kayode Egbetokun, who was the host of the program, said that Tinubu administration is determined to protect students and give them safe learning environment. In another development, the Central Bank of Nigeria within a week said that the country's inflation rate is better compared to most African nations. The acting governor of the CBN, Folashadun Shinobi, stated these at the International Trade Seminar. Shinobi, who was represented by the Deputy Governor Economic Policy at the CBN, Kingsley Obiora, said there were several contributing factors to the global inflation rise. Obiora noted that Nigeria's inflation rate stood at 22.8%, adding that the International Monetary Fund expected the country to have a growth moderation of 3.2% in 2023. On judicial matters, the Federal High Court sitting in Lagos in the course of the week adjourned till Tuesday, August 15th, for further hearing in the application filed by the suspended Central Bank of Nigeria Governor, Godwin Emefiele, seeking to stop the federal government from further remanding or prosecuting him on the charge of illegal possession of firearms and ammunition, on any other charge for that matter. Justice Nicholas Owebo ruled that the application, which touched on the jurisdiction of the court, was priority and would be taken alongside another application filed by the government seeking leave to appeal against the order granting bail to the suspended CBN governor. Counsel for the suspended CBN governor, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Victor Okpara, had told the court that the application was germane and superior by reason of the relentless disobedience of the DSS to a clear, direct, and potent order of the court on bail application of his clients. He informed the judge that he had only just been served in court this morning with the prosecution's reply to the application seeking to stop the trial of the suspended CBN governor. He also asked for a short adjournment to enable him reply on point of law to the reply of the prosecution. On labor matters, the organized labor during the week rejected the chief of staff to the president, Femi Gbajabiamila, as the head of the federal government's team that will negotiate with the labor unions on subsidy removal palliatives. The national president of the Nigeria Labour Congress, NLC, Joe Ajaro, met this noon when the leadership of the labor unions visited the Senate. According to him, the chief of staff has been too busy to call for a meeting, noting that President Bola Tinubu's wage award committee has yet to sit almost 2 months after the full subsidy removal. The NLC president, while speaking during the meeting with Senate leadership, lamented the plight of Nigerians as a result of the failed subsidy removal, adding that government had yet to put structures on the ground to ameliorate the effect in the country. On the census, the National Population Commission (NPC) within a week said it has put everything in place to conduct the 2023 population and housing census. NPC Federal Commissioner in Adamawa Clifford Zira disclosed this, that the Commission now awaits instructions from President Bola Tinubu to start the exercise. Zira spoke in Yola during an interactive session with media executives on the status of preparations for the census. According to the Commissioner, President Tinubu is satisfied with the level of achievement recorded by the Commission. He said the census is a vital exercise that plays a significant role in shaping the future of the nation. He further stated that the postponement has also given the Commission the opportunity to further perfect its processes and systems for the conduct of the first ever digital census. In politics, ahead of the November 11th governorship elections in Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi states, the People's Democratic Party during a week constituted a special national media and publicity committee to sensitize the people to the party's policies and programs. The 12-man committee, according to a statement by the National Publicity Secretary of the party, Debo Ologunagba, is pursuant to Section 40, Subsection 1, Subsection A, B, and C of the PDP Constitution as amended in 2017. The committee, which will be chaired by Ologunagba, has Richard Ihediwa as secretary. Other members of the committee include Emmanuel Ibeshi, Kola Ologunbondian, Emmanuel Ogidi, Shegun Shoomi, and Richard Akamode. Others are Don Everada, Alfred Kemepado, Arthur Ogochukwu, Ezekwe Uche Ibu Thomas, who is to act as technical and information and technology assistant to the committee. Away from that, the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, is reportedly investigating allegations of corrupted and abuse of office against the immediate past Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice AGF, Abubakar Malami. This was revealed in a memorandum signed by the petition register ICPC HS Fularami on behalf of the ICPC chairman Bolaji Owashanoye in the course of the week. Report says the memorandum was in response to a petition filed by the Human and Environmental Development Agenda, accusing the former AGF of corruption and high-handedness. In a separate development, the Nigeria Police Force (NPF) within a week arrested 297 suspects for illegal possession of firearms, recovered at least 520 several caliber firearms, 4,443 rounds of ammunition, and 264 total stolen vehicles since the assumption of the Acting Inspector General of Police, Olukayode Iwetukun, to office. The IG also noted that the NPF would partner with the Nigeria Customs Service and other security agencies to secure the border against insurgents, especially considering the political situation in the Niger Republic following the military coup. Iwetukun made this known during a meeting with members of the police management team, including Deputy Inspectors General of Police, Assistant Inspectors General of Police, and Commissioners of Police at the force headquarters in Abuja. Noting that there are still prevailing and projected threats across the country, the police chief said the NPF is currently carrying out several anti-banditry operations in the northeast and north-central regions. In a related development, the National Commission for the Coordination and Control of Proliferation of Small Arms and Light Weapons NATCOM during a week raised concerns over the proliferation and infiltration of arms and ammunition in Africa. The agency said the development had fueled conflict in various parts of the continent. The Acting Director General of NATCOM, Adejare Adebenro, in a statement issued in Abuja, lamented that African countries collectively imported approximately $1.9 billion worth of arms and ammunition in 2019. Adegbenro recommended sanctions on arms producers to restrict the ability to fuel conflict and reduce the occurrence of violence and instability. Back here, Akwa Ibom State Governor Pastor Omoino in the course of the week took steps to walk the talk of his campaign manifestos of turning the state to a business hub as contained in the Arise Agenda blueprint of his administration with the creation of sustainable value chain in the educational sector. This, according to him, will involve getting Akwa Ibom entrepreneurs to produce basic educational needs like uniforms, shoes, desks, and other accessories for pupils to the public primary educational institutions and the general public. Governor Eno stated this when he stopped over at Christ the King Primary School, Wellington Bastiwe Oyo, to assess the pace of the ongoing remodeling work at the school. He explained that government will contract out of the production of basic school materials to skilled entrepreneurs to enable them produce and supply to the ever-growing number of school children in the basic public educational institution, maintaining that such venture will expand the value chain and stimulate the state economy. The state chief executive assured that similar models will be replicated in the health sector and in markets across the state, and reiterated his administration's determination to engage the services of indigenous contractors in the execution of projects, calling on the indigenous contractors with proven track record in project execution to avail themselves of their services for government patronage. On the sustainability of the project, he announced that government will set up an asset management agency to provide surveillance and maintain the project. Meanwhile, the Akwa Ibom State House of Assembly during the week's plenary heard about 8 motions of urgent public importance, with 2 bills coming up for first reading. Among the motions heard was that for the creation of additional state constituencies in Akwa Ibom State, considering the political advancement of the state in recent years, moved by Ikono State constituency representatives Asukwo Udo. A correspondent brings us details.
The Speaker of the Akwa Ibom State House of Assembly, Udeme Otong, has directed the Clerk of the House, Nsika Basiorok, to write a letter to the National Assembly communicating the position of the State House, seeking that the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC), in line with the provisions of the Constitution, begins the process of creating many additional state constituencies as possible in Akwa Ibom State. This follows a motion and notice for creation of additional state constituencies, considering the political advancements of the state in recent years, moved by Ikono State constituency representative Asukwo Udo.
Why is the Speaker that Katsina State, which was created the same day we acquired the Speaker, has 15 federal constituencies. 15 federal constituencies and 34 state constituencies, Mr. Speaker. Concern also that some of our constituencies may not be well represented, considering the burden of some of us having to service 2 or more local government with large mass and population. The Speaker, honorable colleagues, let this honorable House resolve today. 1. Communicate your National Assembly caucus to urge INEC and all the other government agencies concerned with ensuring the creation of the additional constituencies to comply with the provisions of the Constitution by creating at least 5 additional state constituencies and even more, Mr. Speaker.
The motion drew commendations from other members who saw the need for the state to have more constituencies for more effective representation of the state's citizens.
I want to very much support the motion moved by my brother because it affects my constituency directly. Mr. Speaker, as a state constituency, Uyo, state capital, with 424 units, Mr. Speaker, I believe, and I strongly believe that this motion is very, very important to my constituency.
In the meantime, expectant and nursing mothers in Akwa Ibom State have been urged to breastfeed their infant exclusively for a period of 6 months. Our correspondent Esther Otoyo, who sampled opinions on the importance of breastfeeding, completes the report.
World Breastfeeding Week, celebrated annually on August 1st to 7th, is aimed at informing, anchoring, engaging and stimulating action on breastfeeding and related issues. Speaking on the theme Enabling Breastfeeding, Making a Difference for Working Parents, the Commissioner for Health, Augustine Umo, and the Executive Secretary, Akwa Ibom State Primary Health Care Development Agency, Eno Atta, said exclusive breastfeeding is important for the development of a child. They stressed exclusive breastfeeding was beneficial to mother and child, noting that children who are breastfed exclusively have stronger immunity and healthier skins, while mothers have greater advantage over development of breast cancer.
In commemoration of this year's theme, we are advocating to all institutions and also other governments, NDAs that might not be housed here in the Secretariat, to take very seriously the aspect of supporting mothers and working parents to make breastfeeding work by helping to promote this idea of either a creche or the lactation room or the baby-friendly room in their workspaces. Also for them to allow the working mother, the nursing mother, an opportunity of flexibility in returning to work. I mean, COVID showed us that it's quite possible to work from home. There are some things you can do from home and turn in whatever deliverables by email. These are things that can be done. And for a certain period of time, this can also be extended to the breastfeeding mother.
Nature had made provision for the child to be taken care of and had provided food that was enough and adequate for the child to be raised until when the child is able to take other foods that will be provided by the mother, and even indeed beyond. But we leave this is provided by nature, which has, especially in the first 6 months of the child's life, has enough to provide for the child. And this is something that is free, something that is always available, something that is nutritious, something that provides health benefits, immunity, and all to the child. We leave that to bring something else that may appear more fanciful and yet not as good to the child.
Others, while noting that the rate of breastfeeding has reduced in the country, solicit with government to implement the Akwa Ibom State Health Insurance Law to enable citizens of the state have access to good medical health care.
The World Health Organization attached so much importance to exclusive breastfeeding, at least for a period not less than 6 months. And the importance attached to it has to do with the health of the child, it has to do with the bone, it has to do with fighting diseases, it has to do with boosting the immune systems of these children. And where this is bereft, is not available, it can expose most of these children to danger and other health-related challenges. And so the workshop has to do with instilling into our young girls and the general public, even male counterparts, so that you can tell your wife at home to take exclusive breastfeeding as a very important exercise to nurse the children. The essence of the law is to help the state government set up mechanism where certain things that need to be put in place are put in place and allow our people to have access to good medical services.
In Uyo, Esther Otoyo, Spectrum News.
Still to come in the news. Global employment to grow by 1% 2023. Tuesday. Welcome back and many thanks for staying with us. In Africa, Niger junta leader General Abdourahmane Tiani within a week named a former finance minister as the new prime minister following the 26 July coup. Ali Maman Lamine Zain replaces Mohamedou Ouahmamoud, who was in Europe during the coup. Zain, reported to be in his 50s, served as cabinet director and finance minister from 2001 until the overthrow of the late former president Mahamadou Tanja by the army in 2010. Meanwhile, the junta has also appointed Brigadier General Amadou Didili as the head of the country's High Authority for Peace Consolidation, HACP, and Brigadier General Abou Tago Mahamadou as the Inspector General of the Army and the National Gendarmerie. It named Col Ibro Amadou Bashiru as Private Chief of Staff of the junta leader and Lieutenant Colonel Habibu Asumen as the commander of the Presidential Guard. Meanwhile, delegations from Mali and Burkina Faso's military governments during the week assured Niger's military coup leaders of their full support in a solidarity visit to General Abdourahmane Tiani in Niamey, the Nigerian capital. Reports say an ECOWAS deadline to reinstate President Mohamed Bazoum last Sunday was ignored by Niger's military leaders. He is still being held captive. The junta has remained defiant in the face of sanctions and threats from ECOWAS, including a military intervention that the bloc said would be a last option. And also, in the meantime, the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, in the course of the week imposed heavier financial sanctions on the Niger junta and entities supporting them, including the government of Mali and Burkina Faso. The development came after a diplomatic mission by the African Union, ECOWAS, United Nations, and the United States to resolve the political impasse in Niger hit a brick wall as the military junta refused to grant audience to the delegation. The military leaders also allegedly snubbed the acting U.S. Deputy Secretary of State, Victoria Nuland, and denied her access to their coup leader. General Abdourahmane Tiani and ousted President Mohamed Bazoum, who was being held in the presidential palace. The presidential spokesperson, Adjuri Nagele, told journalists that the prohibition was targeted at individuals and entities relating with the military junta in Niger Republic. And still in Africa, South Africa's Transport Minister, Sindisiwe Chikunga, within a week ordered the immediate release of the impounded minibus taxis by the city of Cape Town. Speaking at the press briefing, she said the legislation used by the city had been executed and implemented wrongly, and added that it does not exist under current laws. This comes after a week-long strike was called by the South African National Taxi Council, SANTACO. The strike was in response to what the drivers called heavy-handed tactics by law enforcement authorities. Taxi drivers and owners claimed their vehicles were being impounded for minor offenses such as not wearing a seat belt and illegally driving on the emergency lane, whereas other motorists were nearly issued fines for similar offenses. According to reports, the strike by taxi operators became increasingly violent. In the last few days, 2 people were shot dead on Monday, while buses, private and municipal vehicles were set alight. On the foreign scene, Canada during the week said it issued more than 16,000 invitations to apply ITAS for a permanent residency in the month of July. The North American country said its express entry immigration program supplied the highest number of invitations, followed by other provincial invitations. Canada made this known in a recent post on its immigration website, adding that the first half of July had 9,600 profiles to apply for a permanent residency. Recently, Canada announced the first trade round for category-based selection, targeting candidates proficient in trades in carpentry, plumbing, and welding. Elsewhere, Ukraine's military administration in the course of the week said that several missile fragments fell on the territory of the Children's Hospital in Kyiv's Obolonsky district. The head of the military administration, Serhiy Popko, said information on casualties and damages being clarified. Earlier, Kyiv Mayor Vitaly Klitschko said explosions could be heard in the city, which may have been Ukrainian air defense at work. Meanwhile, the head of Dnipropetrovsk regional military administration, Serhiy Lysak, within a week said that an 18-year-old man was killed and 3 other men were wounded after Russian shelling hit the southern Ukrainian district in Nikopol. But local military officials said those injured had suffered 9 blast, trauma, and shrapnel wounds. He added that the shelling also damaged power lines, homes, and a church. And still on a foreign scene, 41 migrants have reportedly died in a shipwreck off the Italian island of Lampedusa. A group of 4 people who survived the disaster told rescuers during the week that they were on a boat that had set off from Sfax of Tunisia and sank on its way to Italy. The survivors told rescuers that they were on a boat carrying 45 people, including 3 children. They said the boat, which was about 7 meters to 20 feet long, left Sfax on Thursday last week, but sank within hours after being hit by a big wave, noting that only 15 people were understood to have been wearing life vests. The survivors, however, said they were rescued by a cargo ship and then transferred to an Italian Coast Guard vessel. And to our business news now, the International Labour Organization ILO within a week revealed that global employment growth will be only by 1% in 2023, less than half of 2022. According to ILO, global unemployment is expected to rise by around 3 million in 2023 to 208 million. The Assistant Director General of Jobs and Social Protection Cluster ILO, Mia Seppo, in a release said the cost of living crisis is pushing more people into poverty, including working poverty. According to her, in low-income countries, employment is not expected to recover to pre-pandemic levels this year. Elsewhere, Nigeria Employers Consultative Association, NECA, in the course of a week raised the alarm about the rising rate of business divestment, capital flight, and business closure in Nigeria. In a statement, NECA said that in most developing economies across the globe, private businesses accounted for over 93% of employment, including formal and informal jobs. It said the private sector continued to remain the catalyst for economic growth as a major contributor to the national income and the efficient flow of capital. The Director General, NECA Adewale Oyerinde, stated that the current recent trends of businesses relocation and divestment was unfortunate. According to him, it was one of the major reasons why the rate of unemployment continued to soar perpetually, with consequential rises in crime and other security issues. In the meantime, National Bureau of Statistics (NBS) during a week revealed that Nigeria's agricultural sector was the worst affected by the floods that ravaged many states last year. It said the sector lost close to 577.8 billion naira. The Statistician General of the Federation, Samuel Adeniran, said the sum is contained in a recent report of flood assessment conducted by the NBS. Adeniran, at the National Emergency Coordination Forum meeting in Abuja, explained that the survey was carried out by The Bureau, in collaboration with the United Nations Development Programme, UNDP, and the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA. Still in business, the Nigerian Communications Commission (NCC) within a week said that increased video streaming and talk time raised the amount spent on telecom services to 3.86 trillion naira in 2022. The NCC disclosed this in its newly released 2022 subscriber and network data annual report. It noted that the figures was 18.74% increase from the 3.25 trillion naira that was spent in 2021, an indication of sustained growth in Nigeria's reliance on telecom services. According to the Commission, the total number of active subscribers increased by 13.86% to over 222 million active voice subscriptions as of the end of 2022, from 193 million subscriptions in 2021. And still to come in the news, Cristiano Ronaldo's Brest secures first ever Arab Club Champions Cup for Al Nassr. To stay with us. Welcome back and many thanks for staying with us. In health, the Director General of World Health Organization, Tedros Ghebreyesus, in the course of the week raised concerns that the number of countries reporting COVID-19 data has declined significantly despite the continuous risk posed by the virus. Ghebreyesus made this known at the World Health Organization media briefing on global health issues. He noted that since the declaration of an end to COVID-19 as a global health emergency, only 25% of countries and territories across the world reported cases of COVID-19 death and hospitalization to WHO. While confirming there is a drastic reduction in the number of cases and deaths related to COVID-19, the World Health Organization DG said the virus continues to circulate and kill people in all countries. Ghebreyesus stressed that the Global Health Organization will continue to assess the risk of COVID-19, adding that there are more dangerous variants emerging that could cause a sudden increase in cases and deaths. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization WHO also announced plans to convene a Traditional Medicine Global Summit to explore the role of traditional medicine in addressing pressing health challenges to drive progress in global health and sustainable development. The World Health Organization, in a statement on its website, stated that the summit is scheduled to hold on August 17 and 18 in Gandhinagar, Gujarat, India. The global health body, in a statement, explained that the summit will explore ways to scale up scientific advances and realize the potential of evidence-based knowledge and the use of traditional medicines for people's health and well-being around the world. According to the statement, the scientists and other experts who will be attending the summit will lead technical discussions on research, evidence, learning, policy, data regulation, innovation, and digital health, biodiversity, equity, and indigenous knowledge. Elsewhere, the President, Postgraduate Medical College Fellows Association, Professor Akinshaya Oshimogun, within a week urged the federal government to focus on training and retraining skilled medical professionals in Nigeria. It said that around the world there is high demand for skilled professionals in the health sector, especially in the UK, US, and Canada. The professor made the call while speaking to newsmen on the sidelines of the 17th Annual Scientific Conference and All Fellows Congress held in Ilorin. Osibodun urged the government to stem the brain drain known as Chapa syndrome, where skilled professionals are leaving the country for greener pastures abroad. And still in health, a professor of pediatrics, University of Port Harcourt, Professor Kanu Nkanginyeme, during the week revealed that Nigeria is ranked 4th in the world's population on medical doctors. He said this while presenting the paper at the 2023 Theophilus Oladipo Ogunlesi. He stated these while presenting the paper at the 2023 Theophilus Oladipo Ogunlesi Memorial Lecture held at the 17th Annual Scientific Conference and All Fellows Congress held in Ilorin. The consultant pediatrician observed that despite the ranking of medical professionals produced by the country, there are contradictions that continue to plague the country. He, however, said there is a need to start exploiting inherent potential to contribute and impact the country positively. In sport, Cristiano Ronaldo was on a double as Al Nassr beat Al Hilal 2-1 to win the Arab Cup champions for the first time ever. The victory means Ronaldo has won his first trophy with the Saudi Arabian side, who played for more than an hour with just 10 men. Al Hilal took the lead earlier in the second half thanks to Brazilian winger Michael's header. Elsewhere, England fought back from a goal down to beat Colombia 2-1 yesterday in a bruising encounter and set up a testy Women's World Cup semi-final with Australia. Arsenal forward Alicia Russo scored the winner for the European champions just after the hour in front of 75,000 in Sydney to end Colombia's run in the tournament. And still in sports, co-host Australia beat France 7-6 in a thrilling penalty shootout to reach the semi-finals of the Women's World Cup for the first time in their history on a night of drama in Brisbane yesterday. Australia will now go to Sydney on Wednesday to face England after they defeated Colombia 2-1. On our entertainment news, the Cinema Exhibitors Association of Nigeria, seen within the week, said it generated 482 million naira as revenue across all cinemas in Nigeria in July. Foreseen National Chairman Opeyemi Ajayi met this known in an interview with pressmen in Lagos. Ajayi said total viewer admission in cinemas across the Federation within the month under review was 218,395. The chairman added that cinemas experienced a slight increase in patronage in July due to the numerous public holidays in the month. Meanwhile, Maven Records during the week added a new female artist's life-size study to its array of musical talent. The chief executive officer of the Maven Records, Don Jazzy, took to his Twitter handle to do the unveiling. Introducing the artist, Don Jazzy said she is a rapper, poet, singer, and a songwriter. And still on entertainment, Canadian rapper Tory Lanez in the course of a week was sentenced to 10 years in prison for shooting a fellow musician, Megan Thee Stallion. Reports say Lanez shot Megan Thee Stallion in the feet during an argument between the pair after a party in 2020. He was convicted of 3 felonies last September, including assault with a semi-automatic firearm, having a loaded, unregistered firearm in a vehicle, and discharging a firearm without gross negligence. The 31-year-old has been in custody since being found guilty. And that's all we have for you in the news within the week. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, SpectrumTv.ng. You have been watching Spectrum News within the week. I am Rachel David White. Enjoy your weekend.